Idaho Falls Pediatrics, proudly supporting kids in our community in 7 Questions with Emmy.
Hey guys, welcome back to 7 Questions with Emmy. Today I'm here talking with Woniya Thibeault. Did I get it right?
Perfect, yes.
Okay. She is the author of a new book, Never Alone. She competed on season 6 of Alone on the History Channel, and then she competed and won Alone in the Arctic for 73 days, and you're the first woman to win. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I won my second season. So Alone the Arctic, I was the runner-up, and then Alone Frozen, they brought me back, and then I won my second season.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for the questions?
Yes.
Okay. Question number 1. What is the biggest lesson you learned living alone in the wilderness for 73 days?
That's a really good question. And the truth is that there are so many important lessons, which is part of why I wrote the book, because it was quite a journey and hard to sum up in one word. But I would say that one of the biggest lessons was to learn to really appreciate all of the gifts we have in our life and never take anything for granted. Food, shelter, warmth, temperatures above 0, all of those things are pretty tremendous, and we tend to be in the habit of not even noticing those things and taking them all for granted. So really being aware of all of the gifts in your life and being appreciative.
Yeah. Question number 2. What was the hardest part of being alone, and did you ever want to go up and go home?
Yeah.
Give up, I mean, sorry.
That's okay. So, interestingly, I really didn't feel very lonely while I was out there. That's why I called my book Never Alone, because I feel like when you're someone who's really connected to the wild and to the natural world around you, then you're never without companionship, whether it be human companionship or the companionship of the wild animals, the birds, the trees, even the lake and the rocks. So the only times that I felt lonely or remotely thought about wanting to go home were times when I got hypothermic. So getting really, really cold really changed my mental outlook, and those were the only times that I felt lonely.
Yeah, I saw you ate rabbit also.
I certainly did.
Yeah. Was it good?
Oh my gosh, it's absolutely delicious. Yeah. Grouse also really, really, really good. Squirrel's good too, but nothing compared to the rabbits and the grouse.
Yeah, we used to have 2 rabbits. They're gone now. We gave them to a farm because they pooped everywhere. But I would never think of eating them.
Right. Yeah. Well, I had pet rabbits when I was a kid too.
Oh.
But when you are somewhere as extreme as just below the Arctic Circle, rabbits are a big part of what there is. So you better get used to eating them.
Yeah. What's the first thing you did and the first thing you ate after you left the Arctic?
Well, it's funny because when I went out, I didn't realize that you don't actually just get to eat whatever you want when you come out. So the first thing that I did was had to get on a plane to go to the hospital because they were pretty concerned about me. I'm not a very big person, just a little taller than you. And I lost 50 pounds out there, so a lot. So what that meant is that they were concerned enough about my health that they took me to the hospital, and I couldn't start eating again right away. They had to test me and test my blood and my electrolyte levels and all kinds of things to make sure I was healthy enough to start eating. So while I was picturing coming out and having a hamburger and maybe some birthday cake because I came out on my birthday, what I got instead was some pureed vegetables and a little bit of bone broth and 8 hours in the hospital. So it wasn't quite as exciting as you might think.
What was the good? What was your What was a good meal that you had when you came back?
As soon as I came back from the north, which was about 2 weeks later after my recovery out there, I had my mom drive me straight to the grocery store, and I got about 3 or 4 different kinds of really delicious cheeses. So cheese was my first real meal because I fantasized about cheese all the time while I was out there starving.
I love cheese. Just pretend that the snow is cheese, like.
Ah, yes. Well, then I probably would have eaten way too much snow.
Yeah. Well, then it just means you drink a lot of water.
There you go. Yeah, hydration. Although it is dangerous to eat too much snow if you're somewhere that's really cold because it actually cools your body down a lot. And when you're living at 25 below 0, you don't really want to cool your body down. So it's better to drink warmer water.
Yeah. How did you get warmer water?
I had to start a fire and I had to heat it in my cook pot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you decide to write a book about your experience?
I believe that deep wilderness immersions like the one I had on Alone are really part of the human experience for, you know, hundreds of thousands of years. All humans live that way. And I think that there's something about modern humans that really crave that kind of experience, and the vast majority of people are never going to get it on their own. So I wanted to write the book partly to give people that experience so they could experience it vicariously through me. So I wrote the book in first person present tense, so it's like the reader is out there with me experiencing the things I'm experiencing, so they get a little bit of that. Also, this book was the promise I made to the animals that I hunted, because, you know, it's pretty intense to be out there and asking this land to feed you and these creatures to give up their lives in order to feed you. So this was what I gave back, to show that when you go to the wilderness from a place of love and respect, even if you have to hunt and kill to survive, that when you do that from a place of love and respect, that's better than going out there just to take without asking and just to kind of dominate the wilderness.
Yeah. Do you, as well, like while you're here, have you hunted animals or have you gone to like restaurants and stuff?
That's a great question. You know, I do a little bit of hunting in my normal life, but really I hadn't done very much beforehand, just a little bit. And since COVID, I haven't really been living the lifestyle that makes hunting and gathering easier, because I've been at a computer every day working on this book. But
Yeah.
I am in the process of getting a piece of land where I will be able to do more hunting and gathering again. But certainly, I think it's really important to be really respectful and be coming from a place of need rather than hunting the way that some people unfortunately do, you know, more towards like the trophy and not using all of the parts of the animal. So even as I hunt, it will be, you know, eating every part of the animal, tanning their hides and making clothing, and doing it in as respectful a way as possible.
Yeah. Sorry. You were the runner-up on the Alone series and then went on to win Alone Frozen. What did you do differently the second time around?
Yeah, that is such a good question, because I would definitely say that I learned a lot on my first Alone experience that I applied to my second Alone experience. And part of that was the gear that I bring. So I did change a couple of my gear choices. So the first time I went out without snare wire, and trapping was one of the main things that I was doing for food out there, but without the proper materials. I was literally using my own hair and fishing line and having to carve elaborate traps in order to catch those rabbits. So it was a huge effort and very, very difficult.
So you had to like pull out your hair?
Well, my hair started falling out actually because I was going so hungry. When you lose a lot of weight, it's common for your hair to fall out. So I would run my fingers through my hair, collect all that came out, and then I would make a snare loop out of fishing line and use the hair to hold that open. Because snare wire, what you would usually snare with, is rigid, so it holds itself open, but fishing line just dangles down. So I had to use my hairs to hold it open and hold it in place.
Well,
So
your
it's pretty
hair's
wild.
grown back, right?
It has, yes.
I
that
can
was a few
tell.
years ago.
Yeah. What would you do it again? Would you do it all again?
You know, I would say that the second time was much harder than the first time, and it definitely felt a little bit harder on my body. So I would love to do something really similar again, but it would kind of depend on how it was set up. So I don't like the way they do the normal Alone show where it's the last person who makes it and it's kind of this grueling competition feel. What I liked about Alone Frozen is that there was a time limit, and everybody who made it to that time limit could win. As it turned out, I was the only person who did make it to the time limit and win, but I liked that we could have all won together and that it was more like camaraderie and supportive rather than competitive. So if I was to do it again, I think that how it was set up would make a difference to me.
Did you guys like get to pick if you wanted to go home? Like if you wanted to go home, could you just say, I want to go home?
Oh yeah. There's a button that you push, or you have a device, a GPS device that tracks your movements, and that's always being monitored by someone on the production team, so that if anything happens to you, they can come and get you. But at any point, you can message them on that device and say, I've had enough. Come and get me. Yeah.
And well, you didn't have to do that, so.
I did not have to do that, yeah.
Can you share a piece of advice that might help me and our audience about how to get through challenging times?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think that in our modern world, we tend to really focus on what we don't have, the things that we'd like to have and don't, rather than focusing on what we do have. So I think that gratitude, having a practice of looking for what you have and being grateful for all that you have and for all of the gifts in your life is a really important practice, and really helps you when times get tough. And also the practice of looking for the gift in every challenge, right? Sometimes we have really hard things that we're confronted with, and if we focus on what's hard about them, then we kind of magnify how hard it feels. But if we look for what gift might be there, then we get to feel some gratitude, and then that kind of takes us out of feeling sorry for ourselves, which really isn't a helpful place to be in. So I think that those two practices can be really huge and transformative, whatever the challenge, whether it be Arctic survival or having a bad day at school or anywhere in between.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
You're welcome. And I brought you a copy of the book for yourself and a sticker from my business, Buckskin Revolution. And then this is really cool. So I designed this survival card for the Grimm Survival Company. And what this has, it's all of the tools that you would need if you found yourself surprised in the wilderness. You can have this in your purse, in your wallet all the time. And it's got enough things to hunt or fish for the food you need, to butcher the animal using this knife, to tan the hide. This is a dry scraper or fleshing tool. This is a wet scraper. And then to sew that into clothing for yourself. So fish hooks, arrowhead, knife, sewing awl, hide scrapers, and needles. So pretty cool little tool, all that can fit in your pocket or your wallet.
Thank you so
those are
much.
for you.
I'm definitely gonna read this. I always need a new book to read, so I'm definitely gonna read it.
Excellent. Well, I really hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Make sure you get a copy of this book, because by feeling it and seeing the cover, I just know it's great.
Well, thank you. People have been really enjoying it, so I think it's pretty well written, and I know a lot of people have gotten a lot out of it.
Yeah.
So I hope you do too.
Bye. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, new 7 questions and interviews are posted every Thursday. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Love you guys. Bye.
Idaho Falls Pediatrics, proudly supporting kids in our community, and 7 questions with Emmy.